I left his apartment with my body still trembling, my legs unsteady, my lips tasting faintly of him. The city air felt sharp after the suffocating silence of his kitchen, silence that had hung between us once it was over. The sex had been everything, lustful, rough, consuming, but the moment I tried to touch him afterwards, to hold on to something more than the sweat cooling my skin, he had gone cold, detached, his words clipped, his eyes elsewhere. Like I'd already outstayed my welcome. It stung, and yet it only pulled me deeper. On the train home I replayed it all, frame by frame. The way he'd bent me over, the way I'd let go without shame, and then the way that he'd shut down, as though it meant nothing. It should have been enough to make me delete his number, to walk away. Instead, my phone was already in my hand. Ethan Wilson. I typed it into the search bar. What came up was a blur of almosts, a LinkedIn with a grainy headshot, an Instagram with only landscapes, a Facebook that looked like it had been abandoned years ago. Nothing recent, nothing alive. The absence of detail unsettled me. Who lived like that now? Who left no trace? And all the while, I could still hear Maya's voice from the week before, sharp, certain, warning me to stay away from him. She hadn't just hinted. She told me outright. Ethan had a history with women, and none of it ended well. She heard the stories, knew enough to say he wasn't who he pretended to be, that he'd left people feeling used, shaken, regretting they'd ever let him close. By the next morning at work, I was digging again. His company name turned up, but the address was a faceless building I'd never heard of. The website was nothing but a single holding page, under construction. Even his phone number, dropped into a search engine, came back blank. It was like he existed and didn't at the same time. And still, I couldn't stop thinking about him, the way he'd taken me, the way he'd dismissed me. The ache of it curled tight inside me, refusing to fade. By lunchtime, I wasn't thinking about deadlines or meetings. I was thinking about whether I should call him, as he asked, whether I even dared. Curiosity felt like hunger. Every unanswered question only made me crave him and doubt him more at the same time. For 2 days I hovered over his number, torn between Maya's warning and the way my body still burned for him. I told myself I wouldn't, that I was smarter than this, stronger. But the silence made me restless, and the memory of his hands left me aching in a way nothing else touched. By the third evening I gave in. My thumb pressed his name, the dial tone filling my ear like a dare. He answered on the second ring. "You took your time," he said, his voice low, amused. "You said I should call," I replied, trying to sound careless. "And you did?" A pause. "Come over." "I can't," I blurted out. "I've got work in the morning, and laundry, and you can do laundry tomorrow." "I shouldn't, Ethan." "You already know that you will." His voice slid over me like silk. "Stop pretending you don't want to." I opened my mouth to protest again, but nothing came out. He had me cornered and we both knew it. "I'll be there in an hour," I whispered. "I'll be waiting." The train ride felt longer than usual. My stomach knotted, torn between wanting to see him and knowing I shouldn't. I stared at my reflection in the darkened window, rehearsing lines I'd never actually say. Why are you like this? What are you hiding? But I knew the moment I saw him, all of that would dissolve. And it did. He was waiting outside his building when I arrived. leaning against the wall like he had all the time in the world. The way his eyes caught mine was enough to wipe away doubt. We barely spoke. His hand closed around mine, firm, insistent, pulling me upstairs with a certainty that left no room for hesitation. This time, it was his bedroom. He kissed me hard against the door, and within minutes my clothes were scattered across the floor. When he pulled his shirt off, I froze for a moment, drinking him in. The tautness of his chest, the line of muscle across his stomach, the effortless way he moved, all of it made me ache with want. He pressed me back onto the bed, his body covering mine, his mouth finding my throat, my chest, until I was squirming beneath him. He held my wrists down, not harshly, but with just enough force to remind me that he was in control. And I loved it. When he pushed into me, the world fell away. His rhythm was relentless, his weight pinning me, driving me to give up every last shred of control. I clutched at his back, gasped into his shoulder, losing myself completely to the way he moved, the way he owned me. He groaned, his breath ragged, his body tightening above mine as he finished with a shudder that dragged me over the edge with him. My nails dug into his skin, my cries muffled against his neck. And then, just as suddenly, he softened, his breathing slowing. He kissed me, a soft, lingering kiss that caught me off guard more than anything else he'd ever done. After last time, I'd braced for distance, for coldness. Instead, his lips brushed mine with something almost tender. "I'm going to shower," he said quietly, and left me sprawled across his sheets, still catching my breath. The moment I heard the water running, temptation twisted into something else. Curiosity, suspicion, hunger for answers. I slid from the bed, padded barefoot across the room, and began opening drawers. At first, it was nothing unusual. Socks, shirts, neatly folded. But then, in the second drawer down, I froze. A purse. A woman's purse. Black, leather, scuffed at the edges, clearly used. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, I found cards, receipts, and a driving license. The photo was of a woman, smiling, mid-30s, her name printed clearly beneath. My heart hammered in my chest. I could barely hear the shower over the rush of blood in my ears. At any second the water could stop, and he could walk in to find me standing here, guilty, exposed. On impulse, I slid the license out of its slot and slipped it into my own bag. My fingers shook as I tucked the purse back, nudging it exactly where it had been. I forced myself back into bed just as the water shut off. My pulse throbbed through me like a warning. Now I had a name, a face, a license in my bag, a mystery I couldn't ignore. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face staring back at me from the license. The neat smile, the printed name, the quiet ordinariness of it. A woman who had a life, an address, a story. A woman whose ID now sat hidden in my bag like stolen evidence. By morning I felt sick. Not just with guilt, but with fear. Would he notice? Would he open that drawer and know something was missing? On the train to work, I kept checking my phone, half expecting his name to light up at the screen. Every vibration, every ding sent a jolt through me. What if he'd already realized? What if he was furious? But there was nothing. At my desk, I slipped the license out, turning it over in my hand. The name looked harmless, the address printed neatly beneath. A woman who could have been anyone, except she was tied to him. Why was I a purse in his drawer? Why keep it? Why hide it? Curiosity swallowed the guilt. I typed her name into the search bar, and there she was. Just a Facebook profile, a couple of tagged photos on Instagram, her smiling in group shots. But it was enough. She was real. She existed. And she wasn't him. The longer I scrolled, the more my stomach tightened. Posts from only a few months ago. Ordinary captions, nothing dramatic. She hadn't vanished, hadn't cut off the world. So why was her license tucked into his drawer? I should have stopped. I should have shoved it back into my bag and forgotten it, taken it to a lost property office, convinced myself it was nothing. But instead I dug deeper. Photo after photo, night after night out. Glasses raised, arms around friends. The kind of carefree snapshots I wish I still took. And then I saw it. In the corner of one photo, blurred, unposed, background only, was him, Ethan, standing half in shadow, caught by accident. Not looking at the camera, not smiling, not meant to be there, but there all the same. My blood turned to ice. Before I could blink, my phone lit up in my hand. His name, his call. The screen vibrated, buzzing against my palm as his face in the photo seemed to stare through me. I didn't breathe. I just stared at the phone, frozen, as the ringing filled the silence.